Imagine a place where uniforms a role of religion takeovers, where symbols had more weight as laws, and where administration to the sacred became duty. What starts with file folders and rituals order, it rarely ends in a distorted form of belief and in readiness. Sacrifice everything for it. Heinrich Himmler enters the stage illustory not with trumpets, but with tables, file folders, and a strict look for order. Born into a civil family, he did not begin his career as revolutionary, but as an official man. They put structure over passion. In the Weimar Republic, his passions found food, chaos, poverty, and the desire for a simple explanation for complex suffering. He quickly realized political power is not only talk, but through organization winning was. He learned how to form loyalty not by inspiration, but by ranks, uniforms, and rules. At a time when verbal promises little, Himmler offered systems, and systems promised ability. From small functions he grew responsibility. His ambition grew from responsibility. The tragedy is that a rise not in spectacular rhetorical victory stock, but in the sober mastery of the management OFA capability, which later became an instrument. There should be unprecedented control. The SS was not from the beginning what it was, for she was later feared. She was an instrument that shaped. Himmler, refined and ideologically charged, under his leadership, won the protection force into an elite organization. Their power over purely military functions went out. Uniforms, insignia, and hierarchies became conscious design to create a new sense of us create. Rituals replaced spontaneous actions. Formalities replaced individual decisions. Every command, every award, every rank served for this. The identity of the members with the identity of the organization. The SS began to unite state tasks into them: police, administration, intelligence, ideology. Himmler promoted a culture of absolutes. Loyalty, a system when doubt is a danger, not a virtue, was considered. So not only did an apparatus of power emerge, but a social machine the people pressed into, roles, and they are functional therein made. Dehumanization was gradual, bureaucratic, and methodical, not as a sudden disintegration, but as planning. Himmler was not only functionary, he sought spiritual authority. For him, politics was not about negotiating of interests, but the extension of a supposed higher will. Language was sacralized. Concepts such as purity, fate, and honor took their place in moral debate. These words filled the gaps that science and reason, and created a story that is simple answers but. Through history, myths, and selective research is linked. Himmler turned facts into rituals and rituals in commitments. The political structure has a theological layer, and the SS the role of an order. Its members as guardians of a new faith is understood. In this climate, obedience became the form of piety. He questioned off right and wrong by the ask for. Loyalty, the fatal result. Morality, relativized in favor of the collective mission. Wewelsburg was more than a castle. She was a target image. Himmler deliberately chose this place as crystallization ophies. Ideas, the architecture, the spaces, and the selected symbols should be a mythology of the SS. On the floor of the North Tower, he let him mark in signs, which is now known as the Black Sun, a symbol that rituals, constancy, and an imaginary cosmic the band should represent. In practice, the place served the TO create. Legends, ceremonies, vows, celebrations, they all serve the idea, a new inventing tradition. The mixture played out medieval aesthetics and modern state, plays a key role. Wewelsburg was a stage set for narrative justified in history, and symbolism acted as laws. This reduction shows how Himmler not only managed power, but power charged with meaning, a meaning which evaded critical scrutiny because they rely on myths instead of evidence was based. If Wewelsburg was a stage, the Ahnenerbe Research Department, this new mythology, Himmler financed expeditions, studies, and publications, not primary to historical findings to win, but to collect narrative building blocks, which makes his worldview more legitimate, let appear. Archaeology has become an instrument in national identity, folklore to prove, and selective interpretations of ancient sources. Pillars of P01 Ithaca 1 theology. Researchers often have clear expectations. Equipped find evidence for an allegedly superior past. This method blurred the boundaries between serious research and political instrumentalization. The search led teams to the Alps, Asia, and remote regions, always accompanied by hope that material heritage's metaphysical origin could be confirmed. The result was a distortion of the scientific process, a context in which the hypothesis and the desire to believe encountered dangerously. The formal transformation of institutions, it was accompanied by cultural conversion. Within the SS, ritual density increased, and with it the inner legitimacy that members felt for their actions. Ceremonies, vows, and symbolic actions replaced discourse. Where once moral considerations they were able to lead, there are now collective commitments. This transformation had two effects. It relieved the individual of personal responsibility, and you normalized extreme loyalty. In an organization that self-examination was seen as a weakness, could make decisions that any human, under the mantle of duty, be. Himmler's system showed how ritualization reduced thinking and how structural chain of command moral responsibility can leverage. It is a waning example of how bureaucratic processes and symbolic practice work together to individualize, replace ethics. Myths are viable as long as their bearers can protect themselves. The military reality and strategic failure, setting legends fast under pressure. When the war came, they began the constructions to crumble. Logistics failed, decisions proven to be fatally wrong, and narrative coherence, which Himmler had built, crumbled under the weight of military defeats. The high priest of the order was suddenly in a world where order could no longer be established. His last attempts, negotiations, and excuses reveal less strategic brilliance than a man's panic. His power on the illusion of invulnerability was based. His determination of his own helplessness and the attempt to escape responsibility ended with his death. The story of the collapse is a chronicle of the failure of those who myth above reality, and the instruments of power destroyed themselves. What happened to Himmler? It's not just stones, files, and symbol, but above all the teaching of how dangerous the connection between myth, science, and power can be. Historians continue to investigate how everyday structures, administrative logics, and symbolic politics work together to enable crime. The perception that science confirmation must be provided instead of critically questioning, reinforced in ideology. He declared himself legitimate. The memory of Wewelsburg, the Ahnenerbe, and to the tightly organized SS is therefore not a mere retrospective. It is a reminder. When institutions improve their transparency lose, when rituals replace morality, and when science on the legitimation machine, if so, civilizations are vulnerable. The black sun remains a symbol of that blindness, not because she makes herself radiates, but because people gave meaning. The true darkness was never in symbols. She was in readiness, human, responsibility in favor of invented holiness.